Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this sci-fi tunnel in Eevee or in Cycles if you would like. But before I begin, you can also slow down the video. It is recorded at 60 frames if that's easier, and let's get into it. So to start off, we are going to be a barbarian and use the default cube because we don't want to throw them away this time, and we're going to increase the scale of that. And let's get rid of these two end faces so you can have that tunnel. You don't have to get rid of that first end face if you don't want to, but if you do, you can, or if you want to. And next, what we're going to do is insert a particle system. And when you saw in the beginning, this is going to be our balls on like the vertices. It kind of sounded wrong, but you know, that's what it's going to be. Don't resize that, just move it over so it's not in view. And we're going to change that to hair. Just so it doesn't move. We're going to change it to vertices, and you can see that it just spikes popping out. So we're going to go into render and change this to object and select our sphere. You can make more subdivisions to that sphere if you want, but you'll notice we only have a couple spheres, so we're going to tab into edit mode. And at the bottom left, I do have my keys if you don't hear what I'm saying, so I'm just going to do Control R, make those loop cuts. Right click to move them back into place, Control R, and I'm going to make a couple more loop cuts on the side. Maybe not that many. And so now you can see we kind of have more, but it kind of looks a little weird. They're stuck inside. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to make this, we're going to duplicate it. We're going to make the outside one a little bit bigger so it kind of surrounds the inner one, and we're going to get rid of that particle system. And now what we're going to add is a wireframe, so you kind of get the wireframe as if you were in wireframe mode in like edit mode or something. And you can see we kind of have that. I'm just going to get rid of the light for right now, but it doesn't look that great. So what we're going to do is we're going to open the shading tab. With at the top left you'll see a cross. But a lot of people don't know this, but if you right click in between, you can press join area. Either way, just because I know when I first started I had a really hard time with that. So make sure the ball is selected, and you can rename that to whatever you want. I just named that to particles. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add in a mix shader, and we're going to add in an emission shader. And we're just going to change the color of that just because why not? You can change this to whatever color you want. And it actually doesn't look that great, and I just found out I messed up on the corners, so I'm just making those loop cuts again. So we have those balls there too. And you can see if we go into rendered mode, you kind of have it. It's not that bright, so I'm just going to click on the ball again and raise that up to something higher, like 10, just so it's easier. And now we're going to add as a color ramp. So let me add that in. There's the color ramp. Or no, sorry, my bad. It's not the color ramp. There's the color ramp. And now what we're going to add is we're going to add in, what's called, a noise texture, and we're going to, you will have to enable Node Wrangler, which is an add-on. It should be just in your preferences under add-ons. You can just push Control T and then get rid of the last one, but I just decided to do it like this if you don't have that enabled. We're just going to do random, so you'll see all of them are on right now. So we can just go and change this to constant, and you can see none of them are on, but as we slide it over, more and more become, I guess, on. So now I'm just gonna add a light just because, well, you can see stuff, and I'm just gonna raise that up a little bit so you can see better what it looks like inside. So you can see we kind of just have that basic, I guess, setting. And now that's pretty much it. You can mess around with those colors because you can see that the balls you can that aren't on, they don't look that great. And I just put the roughness at something like 0.2 because if you put it as completely 0, it just looks a little weird. And you can mess around with the wireframe just a little bit, see what you like. It doesn't really matter. The offset doesn't really matter. You can change the thickness to what you'd like. I'm just making it thinner. And you can see now we have the basic part of the tunnel. And so now we gotta make the outer layer. So you guys can just follow along for a bit. Okay, sorry. Once I got to this point, I kind of just like messed up. And I had to go back and look at my original. But you can see that's what it looks like. And I also tweaked the settings, the render settings. So I turned on ambient occlusion, so you get softer, like more medium shadows, and turn on bloom. So high brightness shadows will like glow, and screen space reflections we'll just get those reflections. And you got to turn on refraction, and you can leave half res trace, so it'll only trace the light rays like halfway. It is a little bit faster when you're rendering, and you don't have to change the trace precision up all the way, but it just makes it look nicer. And so now what I'm doing is I'm adding kind of like that white light on the tunnel. I didn't actually quite line that up too great, but it's fine. And we're just going to add it from there, and we're going to change it from principled BSDF to emission. And we're going to turn that up to something like 10. And that looks good for right now. You're going to want to turn those up. You don't have to turn back face culling on unless you have certain custom add-ons. You want to turn on alpha hash for both of them, and screen space refraction. And this isn't really required. It's just an Eevee. It's not realistic. It's more real time, so it's not gonna affect it too much. And now what I'm doing is I'm just gonna make it bigger. I wouldn't recommend doing it how I did it, just because I'm stretching the whole like map or whatever out. So the textures look a little bit weird. So I wouldn't recommend that. And I'm sorry, I'm talking a little bit slow with my actions, but I just pushed N and went to view and lock camera to view. This isn't the best way of doing the camera, but it's just a lot simpler, and you can line that up with however you want. But what I do forget sometimes is going back and turning it off. So you gotta remember to turn that off, or your camera will get messed up. So you can see that looks pretty good right now. So now these are just mainly the render settings. You can see I changed that to FM MPEG video. Some people will want you to go to rendering to change it, but it doesn't really matter. You can change the different settings, so if you want it for 1080p or 4K or whatever, and it'll do that. And I'm just going to change it to 30 frames. Doesn't really matter. You can change it to 60. You just got to remember to change your animations, because if you make something for 30 frames, it just doesn't look great. And the encoding, if you're not used to it, you're just going to use the MP4 one because it sets it automatically. You can put audio in, it'll just be separate sometimes. And then you want to put your file location. And that looks pretty good. You can render the image. It might take a bit depending on your system. So yeah, that's that. Make sure you have those settings on. And you can change those. It'll be a little bit slower as you go up, but it might be a little bit more realistic. With Eevee, you don't really see much change in it, and you can just animate it. I just put it at 150 frames. That's what I did for the original one, especially at 30 frames. You're getting about 5 seconds of movement time. So I'm just going to move it to the end somewhere over there, and you can see all you can see is white now. And even if you're not messing with the rotation or the scale, you still want to mark that just in case. So there you have it. You can see over there in the back I messed up, and I'm going to want to get rid of that point light. So you have more of so it didn't look, you don't have that light in the middle because you don't want that. And that's pretty much it. You can go to your camera view and turn on cycles, but you can see you might want to tone down the emission a little bit, and it does just take a whole lot longer to render. Just because, well, it's cycles, it's meant to be realistic, but Eevee is just better, quicker. So if you want something more realistic, you could just use cycles. I'm currently using my CPU, so it's a little bit slower, but you can change it to your GPU. And that's it. Thanks for watching the video, guys, and I'll see you next time.